And we're coming at you today with yet another Hot Wheels Redline restoration. This one happens to be a 1968 custom T-Bird. You'll see here, there it is. And at first glance, it appears to be in fairly decent shape. But we'll get to that later on. You'll see that it's actually not quite as good as it appears. This side, a little bit chipped up, but those chips are actually pretty deep. And again, I'll get back into that when the time comes. So right now, just taking a body hole reamer, as I mentioned before, and just kind of putting a mark on those divots so the drill bit, the 0.5 drill bit, doesn't hop around on those rivets. And I'm drilling them as far as I feel comfortable with. Now, you can put a little stopper on there. A lot of people like to use a ballpoint pen or a pen, the actual plastic sleeve that the pen, the ink is in. You can put that on there, cut it down to size, and then go that way. Now I'm taking an 1/8 inch bit here and drilling out those rivets, just barely drilling them, and it's apart. Taking the interior out, and then of course the glass, and my hand's covering up most of it. There we go. And now we're drilling them out just a little bit further so we can start tapping those holes. And here we are taking the tap. That's a 256 tap Dubro, and I'll have a link in the description below to where you can get that from Amazon. And it does, I believe, come with a drill bit if I recall. Now the 1/8 inch bit, it doesn't come with that, but it comes with that smaller bit. Now I'm just taking the screws, 256 screws, button heads, and just testing those out. And I'll have a link to those as well in the description. Still working on that there. Now it's time to strip it. So we're taking our orange stripper here, citrus strip, and yet again I'll have a link to that as well below, Amazon link where you can purchase that. I put it on there pretty heavy, and I start wiping it off. It's coming off real easy, except for the black on the roof. It doesn't want to come off. So we'll spray some more on. In a minute here we will. There we go. We're going to glop it all on and let it sit for 10-15 minutes, not even that, and it just wipes right off. So apparently that just needed a little bit more time, and then after this, go ahead and wash it with soap and water. Now I'm looking at it, it looks pretty bad. It's kind of hard to see on camera. We're going to go ahead and get some various different wheels, just some little wire brushes, try to clean that up. Didn't want to do too much work on this, but yet we'll get to that eventually as well. This is a little bit longer video because of certain things that you'll see. And I'm just taking this little wire brush and just kind of going over it, trying to get some of those divots and dents out. There were quite a few of them, actually a lot. It looked a lot better than the Custom Eldorado. If you watch that video, there'll be a link for that as well. But it way worse in some ways. So I'm taking the Mother's Mag polish here and just using a standard Dremel polishing wheel and just kind of polishing it up. And after I'm done polishing, I go ahead and I clean it and I let it dry. I dry it with a towel and then I let it dry. Now I'm putting on the finish, which we're actually doing a color change on this. I do have gold, but I wanted to go ahead and use some green because it's a little bit of a rarer color. And there's actually a couple clips here. It looks like it's just one spray shot, but it's actually a few. I put it on, it looks okay. Initially it looks okay. Here I'm spraying some more. It's starting to look a little bit dark. I did 3 coats, but it looks not quite as Spectraflame as it should. It just looks kind of green. And maybe I didn't get enough hardener in there, but I mixed it like I always do, so I'm not sure. I'm kind of showing you here. And the camera's obviously not focusing. It wants to focus on the anvil back there. I don't know why, but we still wants to focus on that, so I'm going to give up any minute here. But there you can see all the divots. You can still see them. I didn't do a real good job. Now I'm taping it off because I wanted to do a black roof. So I'm just using some this is like model tape, model paint tape for trim, basically. And I'm just using a little bit of just your typical painter's tape. Get that all taped up, and we're going to start spraying the roof. And this, I end up doing like 2 coats on that. Now I'm changing the wheels. Now, the original wheels, this is the, I think the American version. It's got deep dish wheels, and they actually weren't in that bad of shape. But I wanted to switch the wheels out. I did keep these wheels, that's why I'm not cutting them off like I did the last one. I'm just popping them off. I already had one on. And I'm still using these eBay wheels, eBay wheels that I got, the Redline ones. And they don't fit real well at all. And compared to the Custom Eldorado, they don't look that great either compared to that. But they'll do. I'm going to blow through them and then get some of the other ones that I've purchased before. We'll get them all on here eventually after some brute force. And I'm actually pushing pretty hard. I'm not sure if you can tell that, but I am. And finally we get it going. It rolls fine. Taking a cloth and just cleaning up the windshield. It really was in pretty good shape, and the interior was kind of dirty. Bunch of dust. Just cleaning that out as well. Now we're taking the tape off. Here's where the fun begins. You can see it already. So the tape peeled off a bunch of the finish, and I got a fingerprint on the roof because I was impatient, and I saw the paint peeling, and got a little upset. You can see it peeled everywhere, and it really doesn't look that great. It's got there's not runs, but all those dark spots are actually the divots. So I just take it apart, trying to get the interior and the window out by smashing it down on the turntable or the rotating display stand. So there it is back there. There's the window. Now we're stripping it yet again. Now this is kind of a time lapse. It's I think about 20 minutes, but I've got it sped up like 200%. Should have gotten a closer shot, which I realize here in a moment. So I spray it again, and here's the closer shot that you can actually see it bubbling up. Boom. So now it's all cleaned up. It's all stripped down. We're going to start sanding it. Now I actually start with like 220. I'm just sanding it because I realize in the paint that there's still just a lot of divots. You can see a lot of things. That's not why the paint didn't stick. Either I didn't clean it well enough, or I didn't get, I'm pretty sure I got enough hardener in there, but I didn't let it dry in between coats. I'm not sure, but I did put it in the oven like I normally do for half hour at 220 degrees. So I'm not sure why it peeled up really, because it hasn't done that before. I'm not sure if it's a bad batch of paint. Regardless, it didn't look good even before the paint peeled up. So now I'm just taking a pad here. It's like a scouring pad, or I forget what they call it. It's just and then some 1000 grit sandpaper. Just kind of getting it to look a lot better. Not taking off much material, just enough to get all those, well, most of those divots out. Not all of them, but good enough. And taking the wire brush yet again, the bigger brush this time, not just the small ones. And we're gonna knock down even more of it if we can. Then after this, we're going to go ahead and give it another polish with the mother's polish. Here we are, putting it on, just the finger, and the same tip that I already had in the Dremel. And after I get it polished, again, I'll take it in the sink, wash it with warm soapy water, and then dry it out real good. Here we are, I'm going to paint it again. This time, I'm going to let it dry a little bit more between coats and put it on lighter for the first coat. And again, this was a bunch of different takes. I think I waited about 20 minutes between coats, and I did 3 total coats. The last coat's pretty thick. And I'm finished, and I can already tell that it's looking a lot different. It may be hard to see on camera, but it's not quite as dark, and it looks more like it should, like the Spectraflame. Now I'm going to fumble with putting the glass in here. You have to kind of put it in an angle. The front window portion goes in first, and then you got to kind of snap in the rear. But it goes in eventually. We'll put the interior in. There we go. We're going to go ahead and screw the base back on. Now, The rear tail lights, you can see them right there. I did not have to paint those. Those are part of the base, and they're fine. There's maybe a little chip out of them, but I'm not worried about that. These are not meant to be perfect. Just look better than they did. You might be wondering why I didn't paint the roof black again. I simply didn't want it to peel again. That's the only reason why. I was over it. It's done. But the paint turned out a lot better than the first take. You can see there's no runs. There's a few chips on the roof. That's just the casting. But the Spectraflame turned out great overall. And that's going to do it, really. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post those. And if you want to use any of the tools or know where you can get those, check out the links below. I have Amazon links to the bits, the tap, the screws, pretty much anything you need. As always, thanks for watching.